it's okay to decide that you're going to have a joyous pregnancy, and that even with all of the trauma porn out there, the conversations people are having about what to expect and how terrible things are going to be, it's okay to block that all out and decide that you're just going to choose joy, and you're going to be informed, and you're going to be excited about the things that are going to come. You're going to be aware, you're going to ask questions. But like, leading my pregnancy with happiness just made me such a better woman.
May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'm really interested in, well, first off, is it even possible? But how are you guys all putting your mental health first? Because I think that's something, it has to be of the utmost importance, but, especially during a pandemic, during all the craziness that's happening in the world right now, how are you guys kind of helping to prioritize yourself and where you are mentally?
I'll say in pregnancy, I haven't experienced it as a mother yet, but in pregnancy, my boundary game is so strong. In ways that, like, my people pleasing was like real before I got pregnant, and it was like a switch went off, because there's this protection of self, right? Like, I can't afford to be tripped up, to be upset, to be angry, because this baby literally feels everything. And I can feel when she is not okay because I don't feel okay. And so I feel like I've spent more time saying no than yes to so many things over the past couple months.
I actually had my first full-blown panic attack when I was pregnant. And like, I just woke up one morning hyperventilating, crying, shaking, like I didn't know what was wrong with me. And that's when I realized, like, I'm not prioritizing, my mental.
So I too had a panic attack during pregnancy. I was actually hospitalized during that time because my son wasn't passing certain stress tests. And so they put me in the hospital for 4 days, and being there overnight and being in that room, having been in the room for hours, like, I started to just freak out. It was just all of a sudden it just hit me. So that's very real, having those panic attacks. They feel real. The physical impact feels real, even though it's a mental health episode.
Prioritizing my mental health as a mother in general pre-pandemic is definitely something that was still working on. And it became so urgent during the pandemic, amid all of the social unrest, the kind of work that we do at theGrio, suddenly having the kids home while you're doing that work, and my kids, they're old enough to think, to see, to observe, to feel the tension. So day after day, week after week, month after month of them just living in a house with Black parents who are tuned in and reacting to what's going on, they were in it, they were engaged, they were dialed in, and they felt a shift. And so it became quite urgent for me to figure out how I was going to manage my mental health to protect their mental health, and I wish I was at a place where just my mental health was enough of a reason to make that a priority, but it wasn't. It was theirs.
I want to know, for you guys as Black moms or Black to be moms of Black children, how are you guys feeling, like, in this age of, racial injustice and social unrest?
I was pregnant throughout George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and, in our line of work, those are the stories and the topics that we're focusing on, and I had to be immersed in that. And it was getting to a point where it's like Courtney said, like, it's not just about my mental, it's about my child. And, my unborn child's, how he's feeling. He's going to feel if I'm stressed. He's going to feel if I'm anxious. So I had to, like, when the workday was over, shut it all down, sit back, watch something ridiculous on TV to keep, myself distracted, go on a walk, like, just shut it all off, because I was so, like, immersed in work and in the news and everything happening in the world, the protests. Like, I was so plugged in, and I didn't realize what it was doing to me.
I've been immersed in like Black trauma for 6 years as a journalist, working at theGrio. It's nonstop. And then you add that I was on CNN as a political analyst during this time. So the pressure to be all over every single story and to tweet and all of that was very much there. But I actually fell back from Twitter at a time when I really wanted to be on Twitter. I just was like, no, I'm not going to be arguing with people about politics right now, because I need to protect my energy. And people will troll you and people will disrespect you, whether they know you're pregnant or not.
So this subject is actually the first thing I had a panic attack about when after I found out I was pregnant. And so much of it is like race consciousness, yes, but also class consciousness. My daughter will grow up in a very different class environment than I did. And so being able to understand what it's like to be her, and that she shouldn't have to struggle. Like her father and I agree, like we're passing a baton, and not sort of making her struggle in order to understand the lessons that we did, specifically I did. But at the same time, this world is crazy. I'm raising a little Black girl who will be a Black woman in this society, no matter how she chooses to identify in the spectrum of that. The world will see her as a Black woman far sooner than I want to. And so being able to understand what that looks like, how she shows up in the world, how she will be weaponized based on what we know the world to be like, is just a really hard thing to reconcile with.
I was really happy to pull my kids out of a predominantly white school because of what was going on socially. I woke up one day and was like, I don't know what these kids hear at home. I don't know whose parents are at home, watching Fox News, like talking, and then they're sending their kids to school. And, the only Black face, the only person they have to ask or to, lay those representations and images on are my kids. So it was a relief to have them home. We are doing a lot of work together to lay a foundation that, arms them with what they need to navigate this world that we're watching unfold outside, and prepping them for that as Black children, and as Black children living in, a place where they are often the only ones, or, one of a few. That is a thing, that is a life skill. And so I'm really focused on educating them on what that looks like.
I think that when you're carrying a child, carrying a Black child, you're thinking about all these conversations that you want to have with them. But for me, I'm thinking about how I can protect his innocence and his childhood, and allow him to also have a period of time where he just has fun, like being a child. And even his name, Julian, the name means youth. Like it's about being a young boy. And I named him that in part because I wanted him to have his childhood innocence and enjoy the freedom that other children have up until the point where, he won't be able to at a certain point, but I want him to have that. So yeah, for me, I'm very much thinking about like balancing the trauma with the joy, and just finding ways to infuse that into his experiences with me. But he will be ready, when the time comes.
We have way too much free content over here at theGrio. Stream a world with free entertainment, lifestyle, and news content. Celebrating Black excellence 24/7. Download theGrio now. It's free. theGrio.